be exactly what you want to be without all of the fear around you. We have to stand up together.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Chairman Project with Jason Sisneros, your humble host, where every week we dive into content that helps people that are in the SME community, small and medium-sized enterprises. The definition of that is you have 0 employees to 499. That is what gathers us together. We've been doing this for a few years, and now it has coalesced around a new brand, which is about to be rolled out, called Built to Exit. Those of you that are new to the show, make sure you go to builttoexit.biz, put in your email address, and all that does is get you signed up. I'm filming this right now. I'm doing it live on Twitter at the J Sisneros on Twitter. You can always follow there. Join us at 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. every single Saturday for the live version of what you're seeing the recording of right now, where we have great discussions at the end. I bring in guests. We have my normal co-hosts that are with me, and we have great conversations about how to improve specifically your economic development in your own life with the thing that you have called a business. So that's what we do every single week. This week, the title is It's Pointless to Worry, and it's mixed a little bit with thriving in uncertain times isn't just about survival, right? It's about thriving. And so we are going to talk a little bit about that because it's starting to seep into people, and for some people that have been paying attention, you've been looking at the economy, you've been noticing some things that are going on. There's less money, people are less, they're putting from my perspective, I'll just tell you, like I'm involved with several charities. The amount of giving has dropped. There's some good news about that. There's a lot of these fake gurus that are out there that have been selling BS marketing and sales and business content, who I now know from reports are literally about to go out of business, which they need to. Okay, it's nothing. I have nothing against people that are doing things and making money and successful in their realm, but I do have a problem with a number that we talk about quite often on this podcast, which is 95% of companies not surviving beyond the 10-year mark, 50% of them going out of business within the first year. And no matter all of the gurus, this is kind of why I'm in this realm right now, is because none of the gurus, matter of fact, the amount of money that is spent on gurus and seminars and getting bad advice or incomplete advice or advice from people who don't actually know what they're talking about, et cetera, it hasn't moved that needle in the past 40 years. Okay. It hasn't moved that needle in 40 years. The things that I get involved in, I'll tell you, trafficking, right? When we're talking about how many kids are being trafficked in the world with certain ministries and the rescues that we do, what I'm looking at is what are the numbers, okay? If there's 10 million in the world, we need to bring that down to 9 million, to 8 million, to 7 million. We have to look at the number to adjust it, right? When we're in the work that I do in domestic violence, every 11 minutes, a woman is being battered in her own home, right? That needs to come down to it needs to go up to 12 minutes and 15 minutes. And then, eventually not at all. When you talk about the work that I do in feeding people with Feed a Billion, right? Every 4 seconds, somebody dies of starvation, not starvation related. It's just not having enough food. And so we need to extend that time. It's numerical in nature. And so when I look at this fight that we're in, which is a tool for us to be able to remain independent, right? This thing called business. I never want us to forget about it. I talk about it every week, and you may get tired of hearing it, but it has to stay at the forefront that the idea of owning your own business is an act of rebellion against those that want to control you, right? Against a system. It's just nature. It's not like fighting back against it is like saying, I'm sick and tired of the sky being blue. I'm sick and tired of the sun warming the earth. I'm sick and tired of birds flying. Like there's just certain things that happen, right? People seek power, right? And they seek influence and they seek wealth, right? That is, it is just nature. And when they get a little bit of it, if you're not rooted in ethical behavior, then there's a statement out there, and I'm going to botch it, but it's power corrupts absolutely, right? Too much power corrupts absolutely. And so there's a balance. There's this balance that has to happen. And the way that it has balanced the universe for the past, let's say 100 years has been through this thing called business. It decentralizes wealth accumulation amongst the many. Here in the United States, it's 33 million small businesses, SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, 0 employees to 499. There's 33 million of us. That is decentralized. If that remains in place, then that leaves the ability for somebody of low birth, like myself, that was born on the wrong side of the tracks, was born with an abusive adopted father that was involved in drugs and went to prison ultimately for attempted murder of me and my mom. It gives the opportunity for anybody that wants to apply themselves to ethical standards, ethical behaviors, an ethical pattern, right? Ethical systems. It gives us the ability. There's the option. There's the hope. There is the opportunity for us to change our stars. That is the thing that we are involved in. That is the game that we play called business. And so we come here every single week, and what's happening out there with the gurus, their money is drying up. I think it's great. I really do. And here's why, is because people are tired of bullshit. In times of economic flushness, when there's a lot of money floating around, like there has been, with all the PPP money and all the excess capital and all the excess cash and the payments and the stuff, when there's times of economic flushness, people are more likely to be enticed by snake oil salespeople, right? To get away from ethics, to wander away from what has been true in business since the first cow was first traded for the first set of eggs, right? There's things that are true. There's principles, right? That was the original name of this show, was Business Principles. And there's those principles that we have to apply. And once you get the base of those principles, then you can build on them and innovate with your personality, with your skill sets, with economic, financial knowledge, with sales and marketing tactics, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what this show is just like everybody that's here live, everybody that watches this show on replay, it is a belligerent refusal to be controlled. Okay, it's decentralized power. Just like our Constitution, to simplify what it is, it's an anti-consolidation document. It's anti-consolidation of wealth and power. It needs to be spread out because the founders were wise enough to know and understand that too much power consolidating in the hands of too few causes bad things to happen. Too much wealth consolidating in those things. And so in the economic universe, right, we had the Constitution, but in the economic universe, the small to mid-sized companies, we had an earthquake, a history-shattering occurrence that happened in 1890 called the Sherman Act that said, nope, whoa, we're letting too much wealth accumulated in the pockets of too few here in the United States, and we know that leads to bad things. So let's put together the Sherman Act, which then became the Clayton Act, the FTC Act, which then became the Robinson-Patman Act, that then spawned a really great book in 1960 called The Constitution of Liberty by F.A. Hayek. Right? These are the things that have led to the world that we live in today called business. That's this show. This is my group of people. These are the people that I love to hang out with because we know that our destiny is in our own hands. We're not busy protesting things to look good. We're not busy. We're busy working. And we're busy working against the man or the woman in the mirror that's staring us back, knowing and understanding that if we can learn the basics, if we can learn the rules to this thing called business, and then apply that and overcome our own weaknesses, we can succeed at the level that we want to. 8 billion people on the face of the planet. Everybody listening here, you have a different end game. You have something that you have in mind that would say, you know what? Here's what I would love. I would love to have this paid off, this home, this car, this amount of money in the bank, blah, 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 blah. And we focus on, and we can focus on that with business and achieve that outcome. That is the importance of this show. That is the importance of this group of people. That is the importance of the Built to Exit community that has coalesced around each other to start doing business with each other instead of with unethical multinational corporations that are tied together with a greedy, power-hungry, corrupt government. Right? It's just simple. This is just simple math. Right? And we have to stand together. That's what this movement is about. That's what you're involved in. That's what this show is about. And so what I've noticed is people are starting to get worried as this capital, as this cash starts to grow, to dry up a little bit, right? And it happens. Money comes in, money goes out. It's like the economic wave that happens over and over and over again throughout history. It can be mapped, it can be watched. The only time that it gets really screwy is when the government tries to step in and do something that it has no capability of doing, right? You have less than 3% of our sitting government right now has ever had to meet a payroll. It's insane to me. How do you keep one of the major drivers of freedom, which is called business? How do you direct that traffic when you have no experience in it? So that leaves it to us, right? That leaves it to us. That leaves it to you, the listener, to find other people that you find on this platform, which is Twitter, which is, x.com now, on this podcast, to find somebody else around you. Instead of the Amazons and the Microsofts and all these other businesses, find other small and mid-sized companies to do business with. And then in turn, they will do business with you. That's my end game, is to build not a union, but a union-like gathering of small businesses that look to each other and support each other, so that we can never, ever, ever have a corrupt, uneducated about business, a centralized government look at us and call us non-essential ever again. I never want to see that happen again. That's what we're building towards. I think we will accomplish that over the next 3 to 5 years, but that's where this show is headed. That's where this group of people is headed, so that we can all thrive together. Now, in order for that to happen, you have to thrive. And when I say you, the listener, the individual that's listening to or watching this show, you have to succeed. You have to do better. You have to make more money. You have to learn how to hire your first employee. You have to go from $60,000 a year to $100,000 a year. You have to go from 100 to 300. You have to go from 300 to 500. You have to go from 500 to 750. You, with your product and or service. And in order to do that, you've got to learn some skills and tools. The 3 reasons businesses fail. Number 1, there's not enough capital available for you to continue to run your business. Number 2, you don't have any management skills, and that is the biggest priority. 95% of these companies are failing not because there's not enough money, but because they don't know how to manage a business. They don't have the skills and the tools. They haven't picked them up. They opened a business because it's as easy to open a business as it is to have a kid. You don't need instruction manuals. You just do what's natural. You go out, you sign up for a business license, and boom, you're in business. But unarmed, right? You're unarmed with the same thing. You're unarmed with the ability to be a parent unless you study, unless you get the skill sets, unless you find a system, right? You're just going to repeat or do completely opposite of what your parents did. Same thing in business. And that's why 95% of the companies continue to fail. Are you a business owner that's looking to build your company into a machine that creates cash? I'm Jason Sisneros, chairman and founder of Anton J Global, a world-class business consulting company that has turned around, merged, or prepped for sale hundreds of companies just like yours. I'm best known as the architect when it comes to fixing and building companies across the globe. My experience comes from owning and exiting over 20 of my own companies successfully. It's that real world experience that I've converted into the ultimate blueprint that has saved and grown my clients' businesses. If you're tired of getting bad advice, have bought all the books, all the coaching programs, and still aren't seeing the success that you were promised, it might be time to work with a team that has actual experience and a track record of success. Please scan the QR code or visit antonj.com to schedule your free 15-minute consultation to see if we can help you reach your outcomes. That's antonj.com, ANTONJAE.com. So today, we're going to talk about thriving in uncertain economic times, lessons from the past and strategies from the present. So what we're going to do, we empower, just to be very specific, we empower business owners to navigate the most challenging times with resilience and foresight. Resilience is a big word in this community. The ability to get smacked in the face and be able to get back up, and then to know when we're about to be smacked in the face that you dodge, you go left, you go right. I box, I fight every single morning, right? And what I drill when I'm in that boxing class is I drill skill sets. 1,000 times, how to duck left, how to sweep left, how to go right, how to sweep a foot. Like I'm drilling. And that's what this show is about, right? And we're talking about thriving in uncertain economic times because it's crucial that you learn from history and you adopt strategies that not only help us survive, but to thrive. In history, there's countless stories of individuals and businesses that have faced the storms of economic turmoil. Some emerged stronger and some faltered and fell down on their face. So we're going to jump into a couple of those stories today. We're going to extract the lessons and strategies. Then I'm going to give you my sort of takeaways. I'm going to give you some of my takeaways because we find ourselves, I was just looking through some of the economic data over the course of this week. We find ourselves in a place where all SMEs, 46%, think about this number for a second, 46% of SMEs don't know if they're going to have the money to stay open next month. That is frightening to me. That is frightening to me. And so as that happens, right, that we need to fall back on principles. We need to fall back on strategies and tactics. And those of you, again, that are new, and this might be your first podcast, go back through my library of videos, right? Go back through them and listen to them so that you'll get actual help of what you can do. So let's start off with some stories. I love stories about people. Again, if you've watched this show for very long, you know that I love history. And I went back, and I started to look at individuals that thrived in depressions and times of economic turmoil. And then I wanted to know what were the tactics that they had? What was the psychology behind them? What were they thinking about? And as I got into this, I happened to be doing a Bible study, and one of my favorite verses came up. And I always quote it. I always misquote it because I don't have it word for word. But it's Matthew 6:26 and 27. And I'll repeat it for you here because and I'll read it word for word so I don't botch it like I normally do. But it's, look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or stow away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? That has always stood out to me. Even before I became a Christian, that verse stuck with me. As I would get beat up so bad that I would get locked in my room. As my face would heal. When I was a kid, and my grandma and my grandfather, my grandma always made sure that I had a Bible to read. I wasn't religious. I wasn't reading it from a religious standpoint, but it was there. If my eyes were swollen too shut to be able to read, I would wait till they opened up. But my grandfather always made sure I had a set of weights, and my grandma always made sure I had a Bible. And so there was these just little nuggets that always stuck with me. It was like, well, if the birds are getting fed, right, then me too. And everybody that's listening to me can resonate with that fact. No matter how bad things have gotten, somehow you're here listening. Somehow you're here watching. Somehow you have been able to feed your family. You've been able to go through the ups and downs. You've been able to break the challenge that was in front of you. You were able to overcome it. You were able to come up with that food, and et cetera, et cetera. And I watched that as my mom stood in line for government cheese and powdered milk. I watched that as my mom was embarrassed pulling out those food stamp things to be able to buy us food. And I started to think about that. And then the very next verse is, can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? Man, what a powerful thought. That's this whole episode. That's what it's about. It's such a powerful thought. Can any of us, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And that resonates so deeply with me because I see so many people worrying, and there's different words for it, anxiety and stress. And we find ourselves in one of the most abundant times in history, and anxiety and stress is at the highest level because we haven't figured out or been taught recently how to deal with it. To look at it now, it's like it's got to be somebody else's fault, which immediately eliminates your ability to be able to reduce your stress and anxiety. Anytime you blame, anytime it's outside of you, anytime it's something that you can't control and you can't put your fingers on and you can't tweak and you can't move that dial, anytime it's that, you can't solve it. Because the world is not going to react to you in a way that reduces your stress. The world is set up to take away from you. The world is set up for other people to be able to feed themselves. The world is set up in a competitive nature that doesn't lend itself towards victimhood. Okay? And I'm not talking about real victims. I'm talking about fake victims, and there's a lot of them out there these days. Real victims are people who have had a choice ripped out of their life. Children that are being traded for sex. Women that are prisoners in their own home. And a lot of people here say, oh, well, they've got the choice to leave. Look, unless you've been in it, don't say that to me. I watched it happen. I've seen it happen. I've been involved in these nonprofits for years. They are prisoners in their own home. Don't fool yourself about that. Okay. People that are starving in the world, right? That there's enough food to feed every human being healthfully, and it's about distribution and power, why they are starving. Okay, so those are real victims. There's a whole laundry list of things that we know that we see out there right now that are fake victimhood, and that raises anxiety. So what we're talking about here is as you start to face an economic recession, where there's not enough money, where the tide is going out, so to speak. The last thing that you should be doing is elevating your anxiety, your stress, and your worry. Okay? Because, and always come back to this verse, even if you're not a Christian, if the Bible is full of unbelievable wisdom, but you look at this and you say, can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? Let's modify that to your business. Can any of you, by worrying, add a single dollar to your bottom line? No. You have to be specific. You have to be strategic. You have to be wise. You have to lower your stress level and increase your intellect. Right? There was one of my mentors, longtime mentors that I talk about a lot on this show is Keith Cunningham. He's the Real Rich Dad and the Rich Dad Poor Dad books, right? And at the end of the day, one of the things that he said was that if your intellect is high, your emotions are low. If your emotions are low, your intellect is high. That, again, simple wisdom that is so true for us. So you want to reduce your emotion when it comes to your business. You want to increase your intellect. We all have come to the same conclusion that business is an intellectual sport. So if it's an intellectual sport, then you must increase your intellect, the ability to think. And your ability to think is greatly reduced whenever your emotion is increased. So let's focus in on some of those things. Let's look at some historical stories, right? John D. Rockefeller. And there's, again, I've gotten some feedback like, oh, how can you talk about this person? Do you know the bad that they got? That's not what we're here for. You judge the people by their outcomes, however you want to. But at the end of the day, I use them as good examples of people that created an outcome that you want to create or you want to avoid creating. That's why I use these stories. So John D. Rockefeller, during the economic panics of the 1800s, Rockefeller saw opportunity. Now, if Rockefeller panicked, think about yourself. Always bring this back to your own situation where you sit, no matter what's happening in the economy. Okay, if Rockefeller panicked, would that next sentence have been possible? While others were selling off assets in panic, he bought up refineries and pipelines at a discount, consolidating his hold on the oil industry and emerging as a titan. Okay? While others were selling. During the economic panics, Rockefeller saw opportunity. If you're in a panic, if your worry and your stress is super high, do you see opportunity or do you see threats? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? Okay, so that's what happens. He increased his intellect, he reduced his emotion, and he came out a major winner. Again, no matter what you think of him and his tactics and all of the other things that were going on with him, the results business-wise were that he took this strategy and said, my emotions are going to be low, my intellect is going to be high, and I'm going to react to it. Warren Buffett, who everybody knows, was involved in around and dealing with the stagflation of the 1970s. Okay, amidst the stagflation of the 1970s, Buffett's strategy of value investing paid off. While many were selling stocks due to economic pessimism, and if you look around you right now, there is economic pessimism. There is let me address this really quickly. There's everybody's going, oh, how can we be so pessimistic when the GDP has grown for the last 7 quarters? Well, there was a thing called a pandemic, okay, number one. Number two, there was some good strategies being implemented in our economy to come back from a massive a blow to our economy. And then there was some bad tactics that were put in place. And inflation has been the result of that. And GDP is growing for one reason. And I'll post this, or I'll put it in the show notes or whatever, but I'll post where this information is. It's data, not Jason's opinion, is that our GDP is only growing because the government keeps printing money to pay our national debt. That's the only reason. It's not because of production. It's not because small businesses are doing better. It's not because people are buying more things. It's not because they're buying new houses. It's not because of any of that. It's simply because we have money being printed out of thin air. It would be the equivalent of you making $60,000 a year, borrowing $1 million, and then assuming that you make $1,060,000 a year. That's where we are. Okay. So the GDP is not telling the truth of where we are. The government is essentially buying GDP so that it avoids a major panic. Whether that's good or bad, we will find out in the future. But ultimately, that is the difference. That's the disconnect, because people think, oh, the GDP is growing, therefore the economy is doing well. It's not. That's why you're having a hard time selling right now. That's why you're having a hard time collecting on your accounts receivable. That's why you're having a harder time building your business in this moment, because it doesn't connect. There's a disconnect. Okay. So Warren Buffett back in the day, Elon Musk, right? During 2008, when the financial crisis hit, Tesla and SpaceX were both on the brink of collapse, and Musk poured his personal fortune into keeping them afloat. His relentless focus and innovative vision, which, by the way, are not available when you're emotional, turn these companies into leaders in their respective fields. Yes, I know there's all kinds of things and all kinds of stories, but I want to tell you that none of the things that lead to success are ever predicated on the idea that you're responding negatively, you're responding with stress. You have to have your intellect in place. Well, let's flip the coin and let's look at people that reacted incorrectly, right? Charles Ponzi. His infamous scheme collapsed during an economic downturn. He was like, Ponzi reminds me of 90% of the business gurus that exist today, right? Not to hammer them, but I'm glad for their success. They made money. But Ponzi, every single time I see somebody, you can go from $100,000 to $125 million, and this is how I did it. It's bullshit, and we know it, okay? So, but in economic upturns, like when there's enough excess cash, people looked at Charles Ponzi and said, okay, that may not be square, but if I get in and I get my stuff out before everybody else does, then I'm going to win. With no thought of the downside, right? And so Ponzi was doing great when there was excess capital in the 1918, in that era before the crash. So his infamous scheme collapsed during economic downturn. Warren Buffett says, and it's one of my favorite sayings, when the tide goes out, you find out who's swimming naked. And you're going to find out. You can just see the desperation level of the gurus is going up. Their amount of money that they're putting in, trying to convince people that don't have the money to buy their lies, their bullshit, and their incorrect schemes is flowing out the door. And you are going to find out very, very quickly how many of them are swimming naked. Okay. And so anyways, his reliance on fraudulent practices could not withstand the pressures of economic reality. I absolutely love that sentence. Okay. I'm going to say it again. His reliance on fraudulent practices could not withstand the pressures of economic reality. Think about all this up. There's a lot of people right now that are showing jets and Lamborghinis and all that other kind of stuff that we have been duped into thinking is success, that are not making those car payments, that those jets are about ready to go. There's a lot of them that are about ready to go to jail. Some of the people that I know, they are facing getting convicted. There's a lot of lawsuits that are going to come with all this promise and all this stuff that was going on because they stepped outside of ethics and tried to shortcut the process by becoming snake oil salespeople that you bought, that a lot of people have purchased bad information from. Okay. Bernie Madoff. 2008 financial crisis. Madoff's Ponzi scheme unraveled during the 2008 financial crisis. Everybody was investing. I mean, names that people that are supposed to be smart putting money into Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme. But when did it unravel? It unraveled during the 2008 financial crisis, a recession, a receding of the financial wave that came in against the beach. The lack of new investments exposed the fraudulent nature of his operation, leading to his arrest and the collapse of his empire. I love using Kodak. Despite inventing the digital camera, Kodak failed to pivot from film to digital photography, mainly due to reluctance, right? An emotion. Reluctance to embrace new technology led to its bankruptcy in 2012, right? Businesses, Procter & Gamble, the Great Depression, they focused on advertising, maintaining product quality during the Great Depression. Their commitment to consumer needs and brand loyalty during the downturn helped them grow market share. That's a business success, that people that did not react improperly, people that did the things that I'm going to suggest you do as the financial uncertainty reveals itself more and more over the coming years. Okay, Netflix, traditional rental business, struggled. Netflix thrived by offering an affordable home entertainment during a downturn. The pivot to streaming services positioned them for massive growth. Airbnb was founded during the financial crisis, if you remember, right? Back during the 2008 and that period of time. Airbnb offered affordable travel alternatives and turned homeowners into entrepreneurs, growing exponentially. Again, they're running into problems of their own, but that is business. A business that is not solving problems is a business that is out of business. Okay. Businesses that failed during the economic downturn. Lehman Brothers, everybody knows and can remember the Lehman Brothers. High risk mortgages, lending practices, and heavy reliance on debt led to its collapse, marking the largest bankruptcy in U.S. history to that point, by the way. Circuit City, poor management decisions, inability to compete with rivals like Best Buy led to Circuit City's liquidation during the 2008 financial downturn. We found out who was swimming naked. Blockbuster, again, I've used it over and over and over again because there's so many lessons in Blockbuster's failure. They failed to innovate, adapt. I know some of the stories about the CEO at the time who was mercurial. I love that word, mercurial, which means he was driven a lot by emotion. Okay. Hi, my name is Jason Sisneros, founder and chairman of Anton J Global, a world-class business consulting company that has helped hundreds of clients and thousands of growth course students fix, scale, and successfully master their businesses. To put it simply, my team and I help people turn their businesses into machines that create cash. To better support startups and other mid-sized companies, my team and I developed a phenomenal and comprehensive digital growth course where I poured decades of business ownership and know-how into 20 hours of content. This course is not easy. It's not an easy pill, but demands real work from you to implement the blueprints that I've developed. We know that reaching financial freedom is never easy, but totally worth it. Go to growthcourse.com right now to learn more about the course and get started on your business journey today. So let's get into what not to do. All right. As you see if your own business is facing challenges, if you're facing some financial challenges in your life, here's 3 things that I came up with for you not to do. You might want to write this down, okay? Or make sure that you're getting the show notes and whatnot after the show. Okay, number 1, do not listen to the mob or traditional media. Okay? Do not listen to the mob or traditional media. If you think back to 2007, 2006, 2008 in that particular area, people that were working at McDonald's, no shame, right? No shame about that job. But people that were working at McDonald's were buying 2 and 3 homes, right? I know of personal stories, people that had the people that would take care of their house, their housekeepers, quitting their jobs because they owned 4 houses. Right? Media, traditional media. If you read the financial papers and magazines and reports and the financial people on TV, and the lead up to Enron, they were all saying it's a buy as it was tanking. Right? And these are people that are supposed to be able to read books. All I had to do was look at their financials and go, something wrong here, right? This is not a safe investment. But the mob was all saying Enron's the greatest thing to be a part of. Traditional media was saying it's all a great thing to be a part of, et cetera, et cetera. It's a distraction. So don't listen to the mob or traditional media. And I'll add on top of that, the gurus that are marketing so heavily in desperation, because when they used to be made, and I know several of these people, this is not secondhand knowledge. This is not an opinion. I know some of these people. They're like, Jason, I was making $500,000 a month and we're going to be lucky to crack 50 this month, right? These are good. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe you should try not selling horse shit. Maybe your advice should actually help somebody, right? And so anyway, that's do not listen to the mob or traditional media. Number 2, do not panic. Okay. Come back to this verse. Like I said, whether you're a Christian or whether you're not, the Bible's full of wisdom, right? Just come back to Matthew 6:27. Can any one of you by worrying add a single hour to your life? Okay. Do not panic. Make sure that you're keeping your intellect in check. Number 3, do not seek advice from the most popular gurus. Okay? That's what I'll say. Right? Those are my 3 pieces of advice of what not to do. We're going to get into what to do, but I also want to, before we shift into what to do about it, I want to talk about some real physical impacts. I have some of the greatest doctors. I have some of the greatest holistic healers. I have some of the greatest advice around me because my health and my vitality, my energy level is crucial to me enjoying my life, right? Those of you that follow me, you know how adamant I am about my health. I've got these two packages I'm holding up to video right now. It's a product called X39 and a product called X49. You can read about it on jasonsisneros.com. Go to Built to Exit Health. You can see that's one of the things that I'm doing. I have a patch on the back of my neck and I have one on my belly button right now, right? That helps me on a Saturday after a very challenging week for us to be able to come here and to be able to elevate and to be able to execute and to be able to give you high levels of energy and clear content for yourself. Your health is crucial. And so when you start worrying, some of the impact that you have is how does stress affect the body? I just did a quick Google. Your body's autonomic nervous system controls your, let me just do the attribution. I'm sorry, really quick. It is an article from Cleveland Clinic, okay, about stress. So these are the things that that's where it's coming from. And there's 3 types of stress that they call it. I had no idea that there's so many names: acute, episodic, and chronic. How does stress affect the body? Your body's autonomic nervous system controls your heart rate, your breathing, your vision, and more. It's a built-in stress response, the fight or flight response, which helps the body face stressful situations. When you have long-term chronic stress, continued activation of the stress response causes wear and tear on your body. You may develop stress symptoms that are physical, psychological, and behavioral. Some of those physical symptoms may be aches and pains, chest pain, feeling like your heart is racing, exhaustion or trouble speaking, headaches, dizziness, shaking, high blood pressure, muscle tension in the jaw because it's clenching, stomach or digestive problems, trouble having sex, weakened immune system, and anxiety, depression, and panic attacks, and sadness. Okay, those are all the things from just allowing. We have so much control over this. Okay, I'm not going to get in. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice, but I'm telling you, there's so many things that we can do to avoid these issues. But those are the symptoms. Behavioral symptoms, what those lead to is alcohol abuse, drug abuse, gambling disorders, overeating, participating compulsively in sex, shopping, or internet browsing, smoking, or other substance disorders. You get stress rashes. You have there's all kinds of things are the result medically of the things that we talk about when it comes to stress. Okay. So what can you do about it? Here's what I did for myself, right? Number 1A, okay, because I have 2 number 1s. But number 1A is take an inventory of the things that you're putting in your body, okay? And I'll get to it at number 8 here, but take an inventory of the things that you're putting in your body, make sure that they're healthful. Number 1, okay? Number 111 is turn off all the noise. Right? If you are addicted to binge watching Netflix, because if you just take a look and you dive into Netflix just a little bit, so many things are forcing agendas down your throat. They're dark. They're looking at the defeatist part of the human psychology. They're literally a lot of what's going on Netflix and all the other streaming platforms. By the way, they are feeding a defeatist victim mentality because it's the easiest thing to do. People don't want to be challenged. Leaders do, winners do, my audience does. We want to be challenged, but for the most part, entertainment reflects the society at large. And if you're a business owner, you cannot afford to have that defeatist mentality drilled into you with an agenda of keeping your eyeballs attracted to their business model and not your own. Okay? So turn off all the noise. Do your best, curate. The thing I love about Twitter right now is that you can curate the people that you're listening to, people that are giving you great advice, people that are inspirational, and you can block out any other thing that starts to fix your algorithm to turning off the noise and turning on things that help you and will give you great advice for your own advancement. You, the individual. Okay, this is your personal responsibility for you to turn off the noise that is not supporting you, especially in a time when we're facing economic headwinds. Okay, number 2, refocus on your next objective. This is very important. Let me give some specific examples. There's a lot of people that want to jump from wherever you are to a number that seems unattainable, right? That is not sustainable. It's not the right way. It's not the principle behind growing a business. There's 27 million companies. Of the 33 million businesses in this country, there's 27 million of them that have 0 employees, right? The average income for those 27 million businesses is sub $100,000. So if you run a business, your first objective is, what are the skills, the tools, the assets that I need to put together to be able to make $100,000 in my business? Okay. And there's a difference between $100,000 coming into your business and $100,000 going into your pocket. So first objective is hit $100,000 in sales where you're making, 35% profit margin, right? That's $35,000 for you. The next objective is for you to have $100,000 that's going into your own pocket, which means you probably have to have a $300,000 revenue business. Make these jumps smaller, make them more attainable, make them taking the product and or service that you have and methodically adding something new to it every single day. A new contact, a new lead, a new conversation with your target audience, a new close, right? Get back to basics. Refocus on your next objective and make it clear and make it attainable. We talk here at nauseum about your end game. That is where you're headed. You need to have that number out there, which is a bigger number. But in order for you to do that, focus on your next 3 months, your next 6 months, your next year for you to be able to elevate and do it. That 100,000 in your pocket, that's a good number. 250, 300 is the next one. 500 is the next. 750. Grow it methodically by constantly tweaking the dials of the assets in your business. Number 3, refocus on falling in love with the outcome of your customer. Refocus on your customer. We live in a day and age when customer service is a new idea. Cheryl, when I decided that I love these, these LifeWave patches, the X39, the X49, when I decided that I love them, right? That's one decision for me to put them on. But Cheryl and Gregory and everybody that's on that team that decide their customer service, and Connie, their customer service is through the roof, right? I love the company, but I have now fallen in love. Fell in love. They fell in love. Okay. The interview that you guys are going to see next Friday, I believe was when we're going to release it. David Schmidt, the founder of that company, who founded it 20 plus years ago, that's now a $400 million a year company. He started in his bedroom falling in love with the outcome of somebody besides himself with a product that he wanted to deliver on that. And then years, and it almost went bankrupt 2 times. And here we are in a down economy when everybody else in that industry is failing miserably and losing people in their businesses, that this guy and this team of people are putting together a $400 million business and the fastest growing in their industry. That happens because he fell in love with the outcome of a customer first. That's David Schmidt. I cannot wait for you to hear the interview. Brilliant. One of my favorite that I've done in the last 15 years of my life, right? So secondly, you refocus on your employees. You refocus on their outcomes. You refocus on their objectives, which is exactly another thing that David did. I'm using that example because his podcast that we did last week is going to be aired next Friday. And so he refocused on the people that were growing the business, and now they're all doing wonderfully. They're participating in that $400 million a year success. Okay. So in your own business, refocus on your customers. Make sure you've fallen deeply in love. If you're not in love with the outcome of your customer, you are on a downward trajectory. Find something that you can fall in love with for other people. That is the precipice of ethical capitalism 101. That is the very first thought that has to happen. Okay, refocus on employees. That's number 4. Number 5, do a deep clean of all of your expenses. Okay, because over time, it's called in business, it's called scope creep. Right? You're just like, oh, you have this subscription. You decided to sign up for that AI tool. You decided to sign up for this thing. It's monthly. You have 4 gym memberships. You have blah, blah, blah. Do a refocus. Do a deep clean of all of your expenses. Make sure that every single thing that's hitting your bank account every month is something that you actually need, and it's not just something that you thought you were going to need 6 months ago, never used it, but still think you might use it in the future. Yes, I'm talking to you, and I'm looking at myself in the video going, I do this a lot, right? I do this a lot. Where I just sign up for something I think I'm going to use 6 months from, or next month or immediately. And a year later, I haven't done it, but I paid a year of subscription to it. And then I'm like, no, I've already invested a year, so I'm just going to keep that subscription. And now it's 2 years, right? So do a deep clean of all of your expenses. Get rid of what's not necessary, okay? Number 6, simplify, simplify, simplify. Make your life simple, okay? There's so many things that you can do. We talked about doing a deep clean of your expenses. Do a deep clean of everything in your life and simplify it, especially in the face of oncoming economic headwinds, okay? Number 7, explore technology for data and repetitive actions. Automate what you can. There's a lot of great tools out there right now that can help you do a lot of the things that you are doing repetitively or that you think you may need to hire somebody for or whatever it is. Use technology to your advantage. Don't let technology use you. And do not, this is rule number 1. I've said it before, but number 1, do not use technology to push yourself away from your ideal customer. Personal touch, phone calls, text messages, emails, talking to your ideal target audience right now seems like a new idea, but that's how all businesses have been built over time. And now we've got this, well, your AI can reply and da-da-da-da-da. Look, there may be a day that works. Today is not that day, and it's not in your business. People, they crave connection. Make sure that you're connecting deeply. Okay. Number 8, I got to get through these because we're already past an hour here. Number 8, and this is important, prioritize food, hydration, sleep, exercise, prayer or meditation, sunlight, and supplementation. I'll say that again. Food, hydration, sleep, exercise, prayer and meditation, sunlight, and make sure that your supplements or your technologies for your health are dialed. Focus in on that. Instead of the stress and the worry, take control of the things that you have control over. Okay. Number 9, eliminate problem employees, clients, and personal relationships. As you are building your business, whether it's good times or bad times, by the way, this should be a priority. But as you are building your business and you are looking to build your end game, because a slave cannot free another slave, you have to free yourself first. On your way to freeing yourself with your end game, you have to be you have to be a ninja at eliminating problem employees, clients, and personal relationships. That you're like, Jason, I can't cut this client loose because blah, blah, blah. They're going to cost you more money because you're going to be spending so much time on a bad client that you could have added 3 new clients that love you and they're very low drama. Okay. Get rid of problem clients, get rid of problem employees, get rid of personal, bad problem, personal relationships, get rid of them. Number 10, replace distraction time with focused learning. This is on you. This is on you, the listener, the watcher, however you're participating. This is on you. You know how much time you spend in distraction. Yes, you're a full-grown adult. Nobody can tell you what to do. You're a big boy and a big girl, right? We get this was for years I had this problem. I'm like, I'm a big boy. Nobody can tell me what to do. I'll sit down and do nothing if I want to. It's an immature way to look at it. And if you're looking to become a professional, you're looking to be a 5%er, which is, by the way, that's my job description. I build 5%ers. I build 5% owners and I build 5% businesses. That's what I do with a system. Everybody say into the mirror or out loud, I need a system, but I do it with systems. That's what I do. That's my job title. I build 5%ers. 5%ers that succeed, right? That's the number. 5%ers that can, 5% businesses that succeed beyond 10 years, 5% businesses that ever sell when they get put up on the market, 5% business owners that are able to actually reach their end game through this tool called a business. I'm a 5% builder. I'm a master at it. Okay. So replace your distraction time with focused learning. So we'll close out this way. Those are my top 10. Okay. Those are my top 10. And we'll close out with this, right? In turbulent times, belonging to this community that understands your struggles and offers actionable solutions is invaluable. Okay. You being here. And I know, look, I said, I thank you so much. The fact that we had 800 people last week that replayed the last week's show, right? It's because of you. It's because you guys are bringing more people together. And by the way, the more that this community grows, the more that you'll get known, the more that people will do business with you. That's why we're here. We got to do business with each other. Look to your right, look to your left, look at the people in the audience, look at the people that are re-listening to this and commenting, and reach out to them and say, look, I'm a part of the Built to Exit community with Jason Sisneros, right? We're learning the same shit. Okay, you've got HVAC. I need some done in my house. Can you come and do it, or can you refer somebody in my area? Hey, I do this. Can blah, blah, blah. Let's do business. Let's refer business back and forth. That's the only way that this works. Okay, so making sure that you're together, making sure that this community is growing around truth and not bullshit, right? Around truth and not bullshit. Educate yourself. Get yourself a system. Systemize your business. Because together we can ensure your business not only survives, but thrives. Okay? As we conclude today's episode, remember this. Economic downturns are not just periods of survival. There's opportunities for reinvention and growth. Strategies that we discussed today can set the foundation for your future success. Do not let fear paralyze you. Instead, use this time to refocus, innovate, and strengthen your business. Join our community at Built to Exit, builttoexit.biz. Take advantage of our growth course designed to provide you with tools and support you need to thrive. Surround yourself with like-minded entrepreneurs who are committed to not just surviving, but thriving in these uncertain times. Together, we can turn today's challenges into tomorrow's victories. Stay strong, stay focused, keep building your path to success. Until next time, I'm Jason Sisneros, reminding you that in every challenge lies an opportunity. Love y'all.